So we're going to convert 500,000 centimeters. And remember, the unit of measurement here is centimeters, and we're going to change it to miles. Centimeter is a metric unit and miles is a British unit. And here the rule is that you need to use dimensional analysis. Moreover, you can only use the conversion equations given in the class handout. Okay, so that's when we actually use dimensional analysis. If you Google the equation, you get one equation that'll convert centimeters to miles, right? That's not what we want to do. We want to learn dimensional analysis. So use only the equations given in the conversion handout. So looking at the equations in the conversion handout, we first come up with a path from centimeters to miles. And this is one option. We go from centimeters to meters. So that's the metric conversion, centimeters to meters, meters to kilometers. So that's still in the metric system. But then we use the bridge equation that takes us from kilometers to miles. That is kilometers in the metric system to miles in the British system. So look at the bridge equations. That's where you begin. One of the bridge equations is 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So this is one of the bridge equations. And you can build around the bridge equation. Since you want to convert everything to miles, you can use this equation, and now you have to go from kilometers to centimeters using equations. So you build around the bridge equation. Now similarly, there's another way in which you could change the units from centimeters to miles. You could go from centimeters to inches. So this is our bridge equation, which takes us from the metric unit of centimeters to the British unit of inches. And then once we are in the British system, we can go from inches to feet and then feet to miles. So this is the most important part of dimensional analysis. Using the given set of equations, not just finding the equations from by Googling it, but you have to use the given set of equations. That's the important part. That's when you see how dimensional analysis is applied. So we start off with, we're going to use the first method. So we start off with 500,000 centimeters, and we put it over 1. Now we need to convert centimeters to meters. So we use the equation 1 centimeter is 10 to the negative 2 meters. Now we want centimeters to get cancelled. So 1 centimeter sits in the denominator and 10 to the negative 2 meters sits in the numerator. Let's make sure we're cancelling the centimeters to centimeters. Right now we've converted everything to meters. Now from meters we're going to change it to kilometers. That's the next step. We use the equation 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. Let's see if it gets cancelled. So meters cancels with meters, and now we've converted everything to kilometers. Now kilometers now have to change to miles. We use that equation. So kilometer, 1.6 kilometers, and we're getting this from the conversion equation. 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So 1.6 kilometers sits in the denominator, and 1 mile sits in the numerator. Let's make sure that we are cancelling kilometers with kilometers. And now finally, everything has been converted to miles. So what we've done is started with centimeters. We've converted centimeters to miles because that is the only unit that survives here. Now, when simplifying, you have to be careful. It's 500,000 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by 1000 times 1.6. And this has to be simplified using a calculator, and your final answer is in miles. But when you use the calculator, just remember, you go 500,000 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by, in parentheses, make sure you have it in parentheses, 1000 times 1.6. If you don't have the parentheses, your calculator is going to interpret what you enter completely different than what you want it to be. So if you don't put parentheses, this is what your calculator is going to do. If you don't have the parentheses, it's going to say, okay, fine, let's divide by 1000. But then you multiply by a 1.6, which means it goes 500,000 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by 1000 times 1.6. And that's not what we want. We want the 1.6 to be in the denominator, and that's when we need to absolutely make sure that we have parentheses. So this is the calculator answer, 3.125 miles. Our final answer is in miles. Now, this is our alternative. We could go from centimeters to miles by going from centimeters to inches, inches to feet, and feet to miles using the same handout. So write down the equations first and then do exactly what we did earlier. So 500,000 centimeters, we want to make sure centimeters cancel. So 2.54 sits in the denominator. So that way the centimeters cancel. Next, 1 foot is 12 inches. The 12 inches sits in the denominator, so we cancel the inches. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So the 5,280 feet sits in the denominator, so we cancel the feet with the feet. So now, simplifying, we get 500,000 divided by 2.54 times 12 times 5,220. When you enter it into your calculator, make sure that you have parentheses around the entire denominator. So you go 500,000 divided by, in parentheses, 2.54 times 12 times 5280. And when you simplify it, you get 3.106855 miles, and that when rounded to the second decimal place is 3.12 miles. Now it's slightly different from our previous answer only because some of these equations are approximated. So it's slightly different, but no matter which path you use, your answer is correct to some precision.